Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a very pleasant night to my precious pack, and welcome back to the game that I'm finally reclaiming my soul from, that is Vega Conflict. 27 weapons, with an effective combat range of up to 12,000 meters, capable of dealing out 74,000 damage per second, with 1.1 million hit points. For my fitting, I'm easily 309,000 hit points worth of shielding, so that's a little bit soft. All for the tune of 8 hours of repair time if it gets destroyed. Current mass, 102,000 tons. Vessel speed, 640 meters per second forwards, 32 degrees of rotation speed, 100 meters per second of strafe, and 600 astronomical units per hour of in-space travel speed, not in combat. That all sounds amazing on paper, then you realize that I'm talking about the Executor Dreadnought, and then it turns into the exact same thing as the Torus. That's right, everybody. Welcome to the Executor Dreadnought's video, and all I have to say is I'm disappointed in the development team with their lack of creativity with just about every single vessel for Tier 10. It's just a rehash or a flat copy of the previous tier, just with some statistics removed or slightly changed around. Naturally, they've got all the damage boosts, health boosts, and better gear and stuff like that because they're a tier up, but come on, where's the originality? Where's the little bit of fun, stuff like that? But with that all said and out of the way, we know exactly what we're talking about today. We're talking about the Executor Dreadnought. So, where do I even begin with this, aside from whatever I mentioned for the one for my fitting? Well, let's take a look at the prime shift first, right off the bat. Trigger threshold with my fitting of 75%, an attack charge rate of 5.5%, and a defense charge rate of 5.5%. Charge cooldown delay 25.3 seconds and a drain rate of around 10% per second, and a delay before the drain of 25.3 seconds. I know for a fact it'll be over 30 seconds by the time I'm done with it. Okay, hop over to the backside real quick. Let's take a look at the modifiers. Let's take a look at the boost first, because that's where the primary stuff is going to be at, because the active ability is the exact same as we had on the Torus, but it just shoots 3 of them with a degreed spray in front of it. So, prime shift boosts. We have a stasis value of 20% with a duration of 3 seconds and a cooldown of 5 seconds. I never agreed with the cooldown. I thought it was always nonsense and unnecessary. And then taking from the Torus, it has a 50% damage boost, it increases its rotation speed by 10 degrees per second, and it increases its acceleration speed by 50%. Stasis, I like it. Stasis duration and cooldown, don't like it because it sounds like a waste of time. It should have a duration to it, but not a cooldown, because I think that when you get hit with stasis, there shouldn't be a delay afterwards. You should be able to just be reapplied over and over again. Don't care what anybody else thinks in that regard. That's just my personal opinion against the AI. Okay, as I said before about the active, it is literally a copy and paste for the most part with modified statistics, but it is, again, the Tauruses, so if you know the radiation missile, you already know this. It has a maximum range of 12,000 meters per second. It takes 6 seconds to reach that maximum range with its 2,000 meters per second flight velocity. It takes 9,000 damage against health of any vessel or any module to activate this. And it has a 4,000 meter effective combat range, so it's got 4,000 meter field around each of the 3, and they each apply a 25% stasis with a 1 second duration, but guess what? No cooldown, so as long as you're in the field, you're constantly being hit with it. And each field of the 3 does 12,500 damage, bringing it to a very, very healthy high total of over 36,000, well, 37,500 exactly, but who's actually counting? But yeah, that's what we have for the most part in regards to our new Dreadnought. Armor boost of 300%, damage boost of 100%, weapon mass, armor match, yada yada yada. We already know most of that. Shield energy increase of 300%. It has no recharge delay. This is the only thing that it did not copy over with the rest of tier 10 nonsense, with everything else having a delay for some stupid reason. Oh, and it's got 100% stasis resistance, but I mean every Dreadnought has that. Now, let's just take a little peek at the resistance real quick before I end the video after talking about it a bit. Well, not really end the video, because I still have an entire another section to show you of how to farm it with some Mark 4 to Mark 5 broadsiders. But just like the Torus, it has a flat 10% reduction across the board for energy, kinetic, and explosive. It has 100% alien, plasma, and blight nebula resistance. It's got counter chain, counter pierce, ricochet, yada yada yada. But then at the very bottom there that you can see, it has a flat damage resistance of 40% against Liberatus. Yep, that's right. The faction we've been fighting this entire time, this Dreadnought, it just basically gives them the middle finger as it goes all out damage resistance against them. So, yeah. Farming with it is a joy, to say the least. Okay, now what do I have to say in regards to how it's been performing so far? Well, as I've been slowly returning to the game, I've been loving it more and more because, one, it hits like a freight train, fully loaded at that, and with the 27 guns in total, of which you can bring 18 to bear on either side at one time, then wiggle around a bit to get the other ones off, to fire the other ones really quickly. It can deal damage remarkably fast, but I mean, any Dreadnought can do that. There's not much else to talk about this one, because I mean, I kept making comparisons to the Torus. I mean, if you have the Torus, then you know exactly what you're going to get with this one, because by almost all intents and purposes, it is the Torus. The only difference is, the Torus has twin fire arcs that overlap in the front, whereas this guy, this one right here, has 3 firing arcs. It has a battleship firing arc and a typical cruiser firing arc that overlap, and that's it. That's all it's got. That's the reason it's got 27 guns instead of the typical 18 guns that we get. And I have to state this, fully upgraded. If not, you're not going to have 27 guns, you're going to have 24 guns. That's still a large number of weapons in comparison to the 16 that other Dreadnoughts would have until they're Mark 4 or above. And that's it. In regards to the actual combat usage and stuff like that, well, I'll talk about that a bit while you get to watch the target get picked apart, so stick around for that for just 1 minute. Okay, in regards to how it behaves in combat, it plays a lot like the Torus, but you really want to emphasize on your abilities with the active ability, because by all intents and purposes, that 37,500 damage per second with that skill shot that it has, it can do extremely heavy damage on top of the already impressive, 140,000 damage that it's already doing. It's going to be doing upwards of 170,000 damage per second at point blank against targets if you get it all correct. I mean, there are very few targets that can withstand that because the actual alpha damage of that is so much higher just because it takes so long to reload some of the weapons that are on board and things like that, that the damage in a single burst is enough to vaporize some of the targets that it hits outright in a single barrage. And that's without shield bypass. The only ones that I've had issues with that can actually withstand it are basically the trash compactors and stuff like that in the game, and before anybody asks what those are, they're the bucklers and things like that they just gain heavy damage resistance, specifically the Ajax and things like that. And it's just because they're designed to survive something like that for the first barrage or 2, 3, however many it takes. They're just designed to take that heavy hit. That's about it. And how I've been playing with the Executor is exactly what I just described. I've been getting up close and just hitting them as hard as I possibly can, focusing on a single target. And this is one thing I will specify very carefully. If you do not have a target selected, the Executor can and will try to hit squadrons with these missiles, as I have seen. A stupid mechanic, I know, but it has been doing that to me. It's been focusing spawn ships, basically anything. If you do not have a target pre-selected, and you do the damage to trigger it, it will fire at a random target for the most part. It doesn't even have to be the closest target to it. It could be directly in front of it, and you're firing something off to the side. So you have to be careful when you're firing it and things like that to make sure you get what you want. Because if not, well, it's going to be firing somewhere off into space where you may not want it. And you may want that over 200,000 damage burst on top of a single target, because it's just going to help you a lot in regards to how you handle a combat situation. But that's about it for breaking down what it is and how I see it and stuff like that. In regards to more funny stuff, on a high note, does anybody else think that it's flying on its nose? I can't seriously be the only person that thinks that it's flying on its nose, because it would look so much better actually just laid out in a proper way, lengthwise. It irritates me that it's like that. It looks like it's constantly doing a freaking headstand for no reason at all. Oh, man. Why did they have to design it like that? Of all the ways they made... I have no words to describe how disappointed, but how hilarious it is at the same time. Because, I mean, I would have loved to see it just flying belly out, basically. Belly down, specifically. Instead of on the nose. But, I mean, this is just... Include a clip at the end of it doing it. Thank you for joining me once again in this video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed or have some questions or something to keep you interacting and around, but for now, go ahead and drop some comments below. I'll go ahead and reply to them as I can, as always. But be safe out there, happy hunting, and as always, I'll see you later.